and do the countdown. I know we have to pick a new song. Heidi, will you help me with that? This sounds very action sports intro. Starting up, we got T-Bone locked and loaded.
Live from Los Angeles, it's Old Surf Dad. You.
Yes, and we're live with T-Bone. Hey everyone, welcome to, what are we going to call this show? Heidi, we have to come up with a name, but I'm going to call it Surf Talk Live. I'm Old Surf Dad, I'm your host, and with us as always is our producer, Holly Heidi.
You.
There we go. And our special guest, our returning guest, is T-Bone, live from the Margaret River area. Margaret River adjacent, we'll call it. Dude, I cannot believe that you showed up to my podcast. I'm not even going to call it a podcast. I can't believe you showed up to my live show because you're famous now.
You never forget your friends, mate. Don't worry.
I'm so glad to hear that, man, because I feel like I have a lot more shows to do with you. And not just at Margaret River. But what I wanted to start out with was just congratulations. Like, you guys crushed it out there, and your interviews were really great. And those of you, like, get in and check out the interviews on Barrel Podcast. And they're not just Margaret River specific. It's really well done, mate.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, no, we had so much fun. Still, honestly, feel like I'm still down in the car park in the competitive areas now. It's been such a crazy week, 10 days, and yeah, it's been massive. Love it.
Yeah, 10 days, and in that time, it was like on again, off again. I grew a beard, or the beginnings of a beard, just to show the length of the time lapse of it. Hey, shout out to Skate Army and Shaggy. What is up, Shaggy? Shaggy, by the way, won the t-shirt in the trivia question. Here's a t-shirt. Wait, there it is. Margie's mate. There it is. Hey, well, I wanted to start with, I want to go back to those interviews, because my favorite, there were several really great interviews. Again, Barrel Podcast. My favorite was the John Florence interview. You guys, just three of you, just riddled him with questions, but they were so great. And meanwhile, you got his brother too. Hold on, I want to pull this up. This is outstanding, dude. Hang on, I'm going to pull something up. It's going to be worth the wait. Okay, here we go. You know what this is?
Yeah, shit.
So while Margaret River was going on, Nathan's doing this, dude.
Yeah.
And you caught up with him. And there's just one piece of the clip I want everybody to see right here. Nathan Florence, thanks for letting me use this, but he didn't. Please don't sue me. All right, look at this. Look at that step right there. Are you kidding me?
He's crazy. Yeah, that's a funny story, because we were actually going to catch up with Nate Florence. It was through the board store in Dunsborough to do a podcast with Nate, because the board store feature a lot of Florence and Marine.
Oh, right.
So we knew he was in town, and it was all getting set up. And as we were interviewing John, that's when he said, "Oh, Nate's gone to Shippies." And I thought, okay, well, that interview's not going to happen. So it was obviously dead flat in Margaret River, and
right.
yeah, they took off the shippies, and then obviously came back, and that's when Adzi bailed up Nate and Zord, his filmer in the car park.
Oh,
After.
right. They're both on it. That's
Yeah.
so outstanding, man. I think, well, he was voted most popular surfer from Stab or whatever they call that for a reason, man. I love this guy's content.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I love what he does with his life, like goes out and charges. And I mean, to be able to follow him around on a YouTube channel is what this is all about, I think.
Such a nice guy too. All those Florence brothers, they just seem really nice, genuine people. So even though John wasn't probably too talkative after the final, but yeah.
Oh no,
I
I have not watched. I have not watched your interviews on finals day yet. I can't wait to do that. But I can imagine he was not stoked. Like he had a solid lead going into that. And we're going to break all that down in a few moments. What I wanted to just finish on John was, dude, you somehow knew his board was 18.84 wide. Like,
Yeah.
how do you know his dimensions?
He gets all his boards delivered to the board store, which is a local surf shop in Dunsborough. It's filled with about 500-600 surfboards. So when I was in the surf shop in the board store checking out boards myself, there was a big box and it had John Florence written on it.
Wow.
So I just, the boys were opening the box up. So I put my hands on his boards. He had like 5, 6 twos, and they were all the same width. And hanging up in the board store, there's an old board that's been creased, and I noticed that was the same width as well, 18.84. So yeah, hence my question. Do all your boards 18.84? So it was quite interesting. His boards look so good, and hey, I think I might have fondled the board that got the 10 in the semi-final.
Wow.
I think I might have had it on
Come
my
on. Come on.
I gave a bit of a magic touch, the T-Bone magic touch.
You funneled a lot of things. You funneled the goat as well, and I want to jump into that. Tell us about how that came about down on the beach, and give us a little story about the world famous chairing up of the goat. I'm so stoked for you, man.
Oh, mate, it was wild. There's a bit of a backstory. I won't go into the whole story, but we planted the seed more than 12 months ago, because when Kelly was at Margaret River last year, he got knocked out, and obviously he didn't make the cut. And Adzi, my co-host on the podcast, was pretty devastated that no one was there to chair the goat off, to give him the right royal West Australian send-off. So when we saw Kelly in the car park, basically Adzi was apologising to Kelly, and he's going, "It's okay, man. Don't worry about it." And then a week later, the WSL announced that he got a wild card, so he obviously knew he was coming back. So then fast forward 12 months later, we shared a surf with Kelly for about 2 hours out at Mainbreak. What had happened, Team Barreled Podcasts went out for a team surf out at Southsides, myself, Adzi and Namu. And this was during the opening round of the women's, and they decided to call it off. So when we heard the call, we all paddled over to Mainbreak and started surfing the right. And I mean, guess who was out there? 11 times world champ. So we basically had 2 hours of really surfing, sharing waves, calling in each other, splitting peaks, and just talking about everything. Probably not even talking about surfing, talking about all things bar surfing. But then as he did say again, he said, "Kelly, listen, it's not looking good. You're not going to make the cut."
He had this heart-to-heart talk with the goat.
He had a heart-to-heart talk with the goat. And he said, "Listen, we'll be devastated if we don't give you a proper West Australian send-off."
Yeah.
And he was cool because, yeah, sounds great, guys, sounds great. So the moment happened. Okay, so we got down to the beach, and we're there ready. Kelly's coming in, and then the security guards start getting all gnarly on us, like telling us to stay behind the red line, stay behind the red line. And then we're trying to explain to the security guards who have no idea about surfing. You could tell they just didn't know what the state of play, what was going on here. They didn't know Kelly. This is Kelly's last heat. They just had no idea the significance of what was happening. And they were giving us the big, no, you're not coming in here. So luckily, Chloe from the WSL, she sort of looks after all the media. She came down the bottom of the stairs, and we said, Chloe, listen, we've lined up the goat to cheer him off the beach. And so she smoothed it out with the security guards. Kelly came in, mate, and the rest is history. Me and Adzi, we picked him up and had a good grip on his inner thighs and took him for the long walk up to the top. It was a surreal moment, and what an honor for the Barrel Surf podcast boys, mate. We were frothing afterwards. We couldn't believe it, and we were very honored to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's history. It's history, you guys. And 50 years from now, that picture is going to be out there in the collection of Kelly, and specifically tied to his retirement. And is there any truth to the rumor that may have been circulating in tracks that you actually rubbed up against Kelly's? I don't know what you rubbed up against, but that was what Trax was reporting. I'm just reporting real journalism here.
The goat balls.
Well put.
In the heat of the moment, Dave, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to drop the goat. So
right,
him up, and I really tucked my hand around his inner thigh, and
as you do,
might have got close to the goat's jewels, but hey, I won't get in the way of a good story, mate.
Right. Let's keep that one going. And then Greg Smith says, 3 bacon and egg rolls later, you hoisted a goat. So is this true? You had a couple of yumbos before you went up?
Yeah, we did, mate. We were getting treated like kings because a couple of good mates of mine do all the catering. They're a catering company called Supper Road. So they were feeding us up before. So I wasn't even really that hungry, but Adzi is going, come on, T-Bone, we've got to get our energy up. So, I had three bacon and egg rolls. But I tell you what, afterwards we were on such a high. We went straight up into the VIP area and started having a few beers just to celebrate. Right. I think we were. It's like we won a world title or something. We were.
You guys felt like the goat for a second.
I'm going to tell you that I was cheering at my TV screen, screaming for you guys. I was so stoked because I had a feeling it was going to happen. I thought it was going to happen. And to see it all come together was a beautiful thing. So again, congratulations on all of your coverage there. Again, you guys should go and listen. Some of those interviews are outstanding. I love Yago Dora. There's a lot of good stuff in there. So right on. And the next thing I wanted to go to was before we jump into, I want to go into Kelly moments, but that, you know what, we're going to have dogs barking too.
Angel. Shush.
Or we have the possibility of that. Hey, you know what? Let's go straight into Kelly moments. Tell me what your Kelly moment is in the last, 30 some odd years, man. Tell me a Kelly story besides the biggest one of all.
Yeah, exactly. So many Kelly moments, don't you think? Like when I look back, I mean, you'll be the same as me. It all started with the black and white movie. You know, that came out. Watching this kid tear the bag out of trestles. I have so many memories. When I think about all his world titles, I don't know if you ever watched his documentary called Letting Go when he won his 7th world title.
No.
That had, I don't know, something about that documentary, and it looked like it had a lot of meaning to him. And some of the footage, especially, it's got, he had a heat with Andy Irons out at Jeffreys Bay. and he was riding this magic board by Simon Anderson. And he was just doing some surfing that just blew minds. And it was he ended up beating Andy in that heat. That was amazing. I also love Kelly in the Billabong challenge they did at J-Bay when he got that stand-up 8-foot J-Bay tube. That stands out.
That's a good one. You don't hear that one a lot. I had actually forgotten about that. That is a sick way. I don't remember what year it was if somebody wanted to go look that up, but that's insane.
Yeah. Also the just of the last few years, do you remember when Fiji was really good and
yes,
he was riding, I can't remember how big that board was, but he just put on an absolute clinic in unbelievable waves. All the surfers did. So, but Kelly was amazing. And the all-time heat that I just can't stop watching is the heat he had out with John out at Chopu. I think I can't remember what year it was. Maybe it was.
I think it was 2017. I want to say.
Yeah, 2014.
Oh, 2014. Yeah, it's somewhere in there. I remember that. I thought I had that pulled up. That and by the way, everyone out there, that is called the greatest heat of all time. It starts out with both John and Kelly getting 9.9s or 8s and 10s and then trading off. That is an incredible heat. I thought I pulled that up, but I don't know if I did.
Okay.
Anyway, carry on. That's definitely on my list is that heat with John.
Yes. Oh, yes. So many, mate. But yeah, that's Tahiti and Fiji, like some special moments. And then the last one, obviously that Pipe Masters win, like his 8th win, that was a fairy tale just before he turned 50. I mean, mate, I had chicken skin watching that,
Yeah.
Some of the waves he got at backdoor, and then obviously the wave he got at Pipe, and that was amazing, man. Like 49 at that stage, like still the best in the world in heaving conditions. Another quick one, Dave. Last year we had the Swellings did a live show at the beer farm, and Kelly was the guest. That was super cool. Yeah, that's actually that was about 2 hours of stories about Kelly. And then he stayed behind and spoke to everyone in the crowd for another couple of hours. But yeah, some real memorable moments. And just for the record, mate, that T-shirt that I was wearing that I cheered up the goat, I've sort of squeezed out the goat juice and the seawater, and I've put it in a jar, and I've just squeezed the remains of it. So that's my one of my big highlights.
A couple extra drops, send to Los Angeles, California, care of Old Surf Dad. I don't know what's in that, but there's some kind of medicinal, I don't know, fountain of youth that you've got there.
Voodoo goat juice.
The goat juice. Hey, I'm with you on those. Are a lot of my favorite moments as well. I think that for me, there's a photo that Tom Dugan took. I'm going to pause for a second and go back to some of these questions. Susie Hernandez asked where the interview's posted. I think you have to go on to where you listen to podcasts. The Barrel Podcast will be in that list, and you can listen to those interviews there. And they're not on YouTube, I don't think.
No, they're not, mate.
Yeah, and so that's where you find those. And then the other one was I wanted to back up and ask about that Ain't That Swell. It was one of my favorite Ain't That Swell episodes is when Aki, he tells a story about Aki and the karate stick.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
Karate stick, mate.
It's the best episode where Kelly and Aki are on stage and they're telling stories about each other. And it is a pisser. You will laugh and cry. in that episode. It's great. I don't know if you were there for that one.
No, I wasn't, mate, but I do remember that. Ockie and Kelly is such a great little combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, just quickly, mate, got to meet the little baby goat. I think it's called the goat kid.
Oh yeah. Goats are called kids, baby goats.
So she was going down to the beach. So I wouldn't say that we patted the tummy of you know, we might have seen the goat kid move inside, but
wow,
he's really nice. Yeah, so super happy for those guys. Yeah,
doing his first cutty in there.
Probably main break.
Somebody in my Discord chat, and by the way, you guys can join my Discord chat. It's a lot of fun. It's a good community, and somebody had put together a picture compilation of Jack, Kelly, and John, and said 18 years from now, here's what the world tour is going to look like. And they're all little kids. Jack had the bowl cut, John had the long hair, and Kelly had this like look on his face, like he's so ready to win, and he's like 7 or something. And that was the menacing look that we would see in the ESA and the Eastern Surfing Association when that kid was just walking through everybody in the in the Cocoa Beach. And I was in the next region up, which was North Central Florida, New Smyrna and Ponce. But he basically owned the state of California by the time he was 10 or 12. And Matt Keckley was shaping his boards. And so, but then fast forward, I think my favorite moment would be his just prior to 50 winning the Pipe Masters. In that wave, there's 2 moments in there. One is that he beat Baron Mamiya with seconds to spare.
Crazy.
Which was so goat-like. And that was such another example or symbolic of his career. You know, he had that incredible talent to come back, fiercely competitive. And I think the other highlight for me was that backdoor tube that he just there's not many people in the world who could have done that. And maybe just him, who read it so perfectly in bottom turn and just tucked under a thick slabby lip, like what's pictured behind you. He just made it underneath and got the score for the win. It was amazing.
I know the wave. I think I know the way he's talking about it. Like he could have got guillotined and lost a goat head. It was heavy. He's amazing. Yeah, unbelievable
for sure.
You know what I can get over is how easy he gets onto waves. When we were surfing main break, I mean, it wasn't big.
Yeah.
I mean, I was riding a 6'6", 38 liters. It's pretty decent sized board, and I think I'm an okay paddler. I've got my head down paddling hard for this wave, and it was my wave. And Kelly, I think he was riding a 5'8". It was a tiny board, but he just seems to he ended up getting that wave. But I was amazed on how he can get onto waves. You know, it's crazy the paddle power he gets on such a small board. You'd think a big board, I would have got the nod on him, but not against the goat.
Yeah, I think he's not just in incredible shape and condition for his age, but I think also, I don't know if you noticed it, but he's got this freakishly long arms and big hands and feet, and he just it's built for surfing. And you see his lats. His lats is all the muscle, the paddle muscle, and I think that's what had him beating a lot of his competitors, especially. Remember back in the days, that some of you out there don't know this, but you used to have to paddle around a buoy to get priority. They'd stick a buoy way out in the ocean, 100 yards out, and you had to paddle around the buoy and come back and then get your waves. And I think that was one of Kelly's strong suits. There was others.
No, he's got a back like a widescreen TV.
He does.
When we were lucky enough to get invited to go back to the Red Bull Athlete Zone after the chair up. So we had a bit of a chat with Kelly, and he's just had a towel wrapped around him. And I mean, he's a I don't know, he's about 5'8", 5'9". We're a bit taller than him, but the size of his back is like he's quite a big dude. He's maybe not tall, but he's quite a big dude. So yeah, what a ledge.
Yeah, to wrap that up, I wanted to show you this picture. This is let's see if I can get this. This is Tom Dugan shot this. This is Florida at Sebastian Inlet, a place I used to surf. And it's sort of the iconic goat turn. And they made this into a bronze statue in Cocoa Beach that you can see. But anyway, there it is. I love this shot. And that was another memory. Like if I see this picture, I was like, oh yeah, I remember his early competitive career and how after his rookie year, I think he ran off 4 championships in a row.
Wow.
And think about this. The guy surfed against Barton Lynch, and I don't need to show you a picture of Barton Lynch. And the guy surfed against Griffin Colapinto.
Amazing.
And that's quite a stretch. I mean, and in between Andy Irons, Mick Fanning, Damian Hardman, Aki, a lot of people. So I can't give Kelly a tribute. I just wanted to, hear what you thought about, your experience as a guy like, that watched the whole thing happen like I did. It was incredible.
Oh, big time. It's been over 40 years of watching it. Like I'm a couple of months older than Kelly, and you can see the emotions come to the surface at his post-heat interview. But it's funny though. It's like he said that he's applied for a wild card in Fiji because he wants to get Griffin back. He's just the man. Just
yes,
he's a beast. He's so competitive. Like, yeah, and I hope they give him the wild card. That would be insane. Like just to see him do wild card events, I think he would love that. So, mate, I'm going to say one of the greatest athletes of all time, not just in surfing, but just the time span from his surfing career. Like that's incredible. There's not many. Like if we look at his last win at the Pipe at 49, I can't think of many athletes at that age have won like a major title, in a major sport. It's pretty incredible. And to be honest, still can win more Pipe Masters, more Chopu. It can still do it. I can probably
as shown by my bad fantasy picks, that he always has a chance.
Yeah.
And I completely agree, and I'm biased because I love surfing, but I think that he is, the greatest athlete of all times. And at times it goes into a strange world of just competitive insanity. And I caught that moment when he was like, yeah, I want to get Griffin back. And you could hear in that interview, like how competitive he is. And the thing I related to was like, he doesn't want to let it go, man. And I relate that to like, I don't want to let go of surfing or skateboard. Let's just call it the board riding sports. Like, someday that's going to happen. And I'm going to just be in denial all the way I'm going to rage against the dying of the light, T-Bone, as much as I can. And that's sort of like, it's humbling for Kelly, I'm sure, to realize that, hey, it's time to move on in some respects, but he still has surfing, it's just not how he's been doing it for the last 40 years, but what a life, what a career.
A bit of a gap, I guess a bit of a void for us, I guess. Now he's not going to be competing full time, but I mean, I don't think it's over, mate. I think we'll see him again in a jersey.
I do too.
So
I think I see a lot of comments here about that we'll see Kelly at Pipe. I mean, we probably will see Kelly at Pipe. We won't see him in the Olympics, which I think is a shame. Wait till the Olympic announcers are on there and saying, well, Kelly surfs really well here. He was in the greatest heat of all time. Where is he? He's sitting on the sidelines. And I don't think that's right, but they just cheat him in there.
Exactly.
But I want to move on. I want to go to our picks, and I don't have. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's talk about the event.
Let's talk about the event. I was going to pull up. Let me do a shared screen, and here is on my website. I have a place called My Picks, and T-Bone, you can tell us your picks as we do this, but I think we both picked Molly and Caroline.
We did.
And then in TRC, I took a crazy shot at Sophie McCulloch, upsetting Katie Simmers. Never happened. It was just the way that the brackets worked out. I thought I could get over, and it was a risky play I went for because there's been upsets all year, man.
Yeah, big time. Yep.
And then Gabriella Bryan, I know that you chose Isabella Nichols. I hate to bring that up. She was a solid pick, but I was feeling Gabriella Bryan, and I don't want to claim that. That's the only good thing that I think that's my only great pick in here.
I was going to as well because, I forgot how good she is at Margaret's. But it's interesting to watch the girls compared to the guys. Speaking to Mick McAuliffe, it's like the contest director. A lot of the girls, they like to hassle each other, and they seem to always position themselves too far over, too far north, and they sort of get onto where the left is.
I saw that.
And the girls missed a lot of, like, some of those finals, like the semis, and the girls were missing a lot of quality scoring opportunities, but they like to hassle each other, and they sort of get out of position.
Yeah, the Brisa, sorry to interrupt you. The Brisa Gabriella Bryan heat was a great example. They had pushed themselves so deep, and they'd missed so many waves. The judges were like, "We're not giving you a restart. You guys are out there hassling. You missed plenty of great waves."
Exactly. Yeah. And then, if you look at John, I was watching John, and he just sort of pulls anchor. He's got his spot, but then at one point during his heat against, was it Georgie Pitt? I can't remember who it was, but he actually stayed quite over on the shoulder, and he made. Oh, I need to check who it was, but he made the person that was in the heat with him sort of sit with him. So he sort of, because John didn't have priority, so he used.
I wonder if he did that to George Bitar.
I'd have to check. Who did he? Maybe it was Sammy Pupo. Absolutely smoked him. Poor old Sammy Pupo had to.
Yeah, I do remember that. So many good comments here too. By the way, we'll catch up with you all in just a moment. I want to get my picks off the screen to spare any embarrassment. I don't know. In my own league, I was like in the 200s, like low 200s, but and I'm middle of the pack at best. So like I say, T-Bone, 50% of the time I'm absolutely right, and 50% of the time I'm not. And this time I'm a little above that average, which is nice. On the men's side, I went Griffin. I was so hot on Griffin. I thought 2 times he's on a roll, and he just came out flat on finals day. Unbelievable. Who did you have in tier A? I can't remember who you picked.
I had Griffin and Ethan.
Oh, that's a heartbreaker.
Robbo, I can't believe it.
How wait, I know Adzi picked Robbo.
Oh yeah, Adzi picks Robbo when he's not even in the comp.
I can't believe, now let's be fair to ourselves here. If we would have known it was going to be 8 foot and going off, we would have had those 2 in that spot. Well, I'm not going to say that for sure. I still would have been on the Griffin bandwagon, I think. But those 2, John and Jack, just look so good. And I can't believe that John was so far ahead. Did he have him comboed? Did Jack have no score? Remind me. I don't know if that was that heat.
Oh, the final.
Yeah.
No. Well, they both had pretty good starts. Now Jack Robbo, he peaked at the right time. I don't know if you remember, but he was pretty sick at Bells.
Yes.
When he came over to Margaret River, come back home, he was just trying to get his energy levels back up.
Yeah.
Now, watching Jack surf finals day, I was thinking to myself, shit, he's actually got a lifter gear, because after watching John surf his quarter and his semi, he just looked unstoppable.
He did.
And I was thinking, Jack, you've got to actually lift a gear. And then come the finals, obviously he did that punt. Do you see that punt, that aerial that he did? That
Unbelievable.
he actually did something similar in 2022. So we didn't actually see bugger all airs throughout the whole event. I don't know if you noticed. There was no one doing
Nothing.
it. And then Jack pulls the air, and then he just looked like a lot of his turns had a lot more power and spice, like similar to some of the carves that what John was doing. So I think he just peaked right at the right time. It was a bloody good final, though. Jeez, it was good.
Same. I think he peaked at the right time. I think Jack peaked, John peaked in the semis with that 10, which was insane. I don't need to show it here. You'll probably see it 100 more times. But definitely it's spectacular recovery on that layback.
Mate, you should have heard the peanut gallery on the beach explode. Like everyone yeah, it was amazing. That was amazing. And what was interesting at the end of that heat, sometimes the surfers catch a wave to go in. I know John just rode on his belly in, and I'm thinking he was starting to think about his final, starting to conserve his energy. It was a crazy semi-final, and I think you're right. Jack just seemed to have a bit more momentum coming into that last final. But yeah.
Just finishing. Sorry. Just finishing up these picks. I had Gabriel Medina, and I don't know. I didn't get a chance, and I want to hear what happened to you guys out there. But the WSL dropped the hammer as soon as before the next heat even started, and locked up the league. And in a way, thank God they did, because I wanted to change John to Ethan. And the WSL prevented me from overthinking it. So thank you, WSL. But I had John and Gabriel Medina in a first heat out of the gates, which wasn't great. So friendly fire. But I don't think there's been much controversy about the Gabriel Medina John heat, but it was really close. And my point is that A, it was really close, and B, that judging is hard, and that judges have a tough task, and to be able to score between those two different styles, frontside and backside, is something I would not want to do. Does anyone think that was a bad call? I don't, but I'm a huge John fan, but I'm also a Gabriel Medina fan. But somebody said here, I think Gabe is losing interest in the series this year, and the storm has passed. I don't know if that's true, but it sure seems, I know you guys call it spit the dummy, when he's just not getting results, man. And he's probably not used to it. He's used to dominance.
Yeah, I mean, I after watching that wave and actually getting an insight on what the judges, how they determine those scores, and if you look at it side by side, I mean, Gabe's wave was smaller. John's turns were more critical. But if I'm pretty sure if Gabby was on a bigger wave and able to really get really critical on that end section, he probably would have got the score. But it's pretty hard to beat John. I mean, let's face it, not many people can match John turn for turn, especially on the Margaret River rides.
Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, I think there was a series of high point scores there. And one of them, hey, Heidi, can you pull up on this WSL, if you can take the Jack Robinson John out and see if he can pull up the George Bitar should be in there somewhere. Let's talk about George Bitar for a moment. An incredible performance. This guy, in the final, John.
Is that the one you were looking for?
No, the one before that in the semifinals, not semifinal, in the quarterfinal, George Bitar beat Griffin, and he had that 9.5. You remember that wave? I got to give this guy credit, man. He got that barrel, and then his turns looked outstanding. I mean, yes, this guy's going to make the CS. He's going to be on the schedule next year, I think. I mean, I'm hyped on this guy. I don't know how anybody else feels about it.
He's going to make the CT, you mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Big time. I tell you what, not many people get tubed at Margaret River. Jack Robert, I mean, Kelly got a 10 many years ago, but and this guy has not surfed Margaret River, or hardly surfed it. But to get a tube like that, great result for the young Aussie.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Hey, let's move on. Let's go to you and Spew, and let's bring this back. So again, you is Heidi,
You?
and Spew is
Spew.
So we're going to go with you. And my first you is going to be, hey, that event is going to happen for 4 more years until 2028 in Margaret River. So that's a big you.
4 more years, is it?
Yeah, till 2028. And the only thing I see being a problem is that somewhere along that line, Jordy's going to retire. So you're going to have to eat more yumbos to get him up those stairs because he's a big boy.
100%. Hey, he's in the top 5 now, Geordie. After
it's unbelievable. We're going to look at rankings in just a second. Yeah, sure. I totally want to look at that because the top 5 is insane. It looks like a throwback. But you got any Yews or Spews there? Let's start with Yews.
With me, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Yews.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, cheering the goat's a big U. We talked about that
for sure.
What was a big U is finals day. I like Margaret. It's been a tough forecast. Just for the record, it's been a super dry, long summer, and technically, it feels like we're still in summer over here. So we didn't really get those swell trains where that swell after swell. During the comp, we only had one swell, but the finals day was so much good surfing. You know, Margaret River provided an action-packed day. It was such a good vibe down there, mate, and just seeing the level of surfing out there. I mean, Jack Robbo, massive view, John as well. I'd have to give it to those two. They just set the bar. And I guess I better not go past the women as well. They were insane. Sawyer Lindblad,
incredible,
she got 9.5 on a semi, massive view. Like she was facing Cutland, and obviously Gabriella Ryan as well. So yeah, the surfing was the big U, mate. There you go.
There they are. Is the trophy? Is the trophy filled with cheeky monkey, or what's in that? Is there?
Well, I did actually ask Gabrielle, was there wine in that barrel? Because
it had to be. We saw a million wine commercials.
Yeah.
Clearly what Western Oz is about.
Yeah. Speaking of wine, I'll give Forrester Estate. They actually sponsored the event. Forrester Estate's the local winery down here. It's amazing. But no wine or beer, just a big old barrel, I believe.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool trophy. At some point we're going to debate what's the best trophy. You know, I may say the Bell, but there's so many interesting trophies, and the old J-Bay ones were classics, but the barrel is definitely becoming iconic because they're starting to give it out. When I first saw it, T-Bone, I thought it was like a piece of cheese. And I was like, why are they giving them cheddar, dude? But it's the barrel's awesome. I want to stop. I like this comment. George Bitar is a journeyman at best. There's so many better surfers at the CS level.
Ooh.
And I like that he's saying that because that's definitely an argument you can have here, because the talent that's in the CS that's not only already there, but that's coming back, we're going to talk about in a second. I want to jump into the rankings, T-Bone, a couple more Yews and Spews. I want to say that we already talked about George Pitar and Seth Moniz making a big jump. For me, a Yew was the Waves. I've forgotten about the earlier heats where there were restarts and people not getting waves, and finals day sort of wiped my memory of that Molly Picklum, Alyssa Spencer heat where they sat there for 40 minutes. And that's what waves do for us, man. So the waves were definitely a Yew, and the announcers, pardon, say that, Heidi?
The last day they were a Yew, and the rest of it was kind of a bit of a Spew.
Yeah, I mean, completely. And I think it wiped out my memory of all that happened before. But if I go back and look at those heats, some of them were sketchy. And to have world-class surfers competing in 2-foot waves makes it hard to differentiate yourself. And I'm going to say one more thing about George Pitar is, I mentioned this before, is I watched him surf in Huntington, and the guy was going faster than everybody else, doing turns in 2-foot waves, because he grew up in Manly, and I've surfed Manly. Manly is a crappy beach break that's consistent. I'll say it like that. And somebody from New South Wales can chime in and go, "That's my local, bro," or "That's me local, mate," or however you want to say it. But I get it. And Spew. So wait, I had a couple quality. Oh, I want to mention this because the WSL gets a lot of shit, and I don't think it's fair sometimes for this part of what they do. They run, in a visual sense, a professional program. And when I say that, I mean the replays, and T-Bone, you may not have seen it, being on the beach, being, rubbing elbows with the CT surfers. But what we got to see on TV, what it is steadily increased in quality, is not just the coverage of the event, but the slow-mos that we get in the surfing. They were showing everyone's waves in slow-mos. And a couple times I was stopping going, whoa, that is much better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Look at the way that turn is right there. And Alyssa Spencer on that backside hack that she did, where she did that like air down, was sort of Molly-esque at sunset, aerial landing in the bottom sort of thing. We got to see that in slow-mo, and I really enjoyed that. And the camera guys and girls that run that show are pretty awesome, including still photos. Aaron Hughes, I got to mention Aaron Hughes and Beatrice Ryder are talented photographers, and I know what it's like to cover an event all day, and it'll beat you up, and they are killing it. Staying. So that I'm going to say that. And then, sure, I criticize the WSL for a lot of things. Somebody wrote right here, the cut sucks. And that full season aggregate is a champ. Carissa was robbed for 2 world championships. I mean, sure, they get in their own way a lot. But sometimes they do things right. I agree with put that back up if you don't mind, Heidi. Thanks. I agree with the slow-mos. This confirms it wasn't just me who noticed this. I said exactly the same thing to myself. It was looking pretty amazing, and you could see their sprays and everything. But I don't want to go on and on. Any other use? We're going to move to Heidi.
We're going to move to me?
No, Spew. With your cue. Sorry.
I don't know.
Lame. Sorry, I cut you off guard.
I just keep thinking about John in the final, and how amazing he surfed. I mean, obviously Jack was incredible, but I just felt like I hadn't seen John surf like that in a long time. Maybe I'm forgetting, but I was just flabbergasted by it. But Jack was incredible, and obviously he won. So
that one section that he flew across, T-Bone, that was like a 30-yard. It was a huge inside, nasty looking closeout. And he did like a 30-yard kind of carve across it and landed in the whites and it exploded.
Yeah.
It was one of the more incredible things I've seen. I mean, the air and all that was cool, but that took an incredible amount of strength and timing to pull that off. Jack Rabo's the air in the finals was sick for sure. It was I guess you call it indie air. Was it? I didn't see if he put two hands on it or if it was like a straight air kind of version. But once you start talking about boneless and that, you get lost because I'm some old guy.
Yeah, yeah. I just call it an air. Indie air. Okay, I wasn't even sure what you call it. What sort of you did, but it was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think it shows you like when you get two people that are that fired up and that good together, they just push each other extremely. And it was just one after the other. It was like, it was just, I was on the edge just going, oh my God, what are they going to do next? And the waves were great. I mean, they got a beautiful day and you can see what the surfers can do when the conditions are, excellent. So
yeah, 100%. When those rights really stand up and there's a bit of steep face, because as you would have seen that when they get a little bit flat, it's not as exciting. But when they get a bit of steep face and they just be able to do some critical turns, it's so fun to watch.
And I think John said, he's like, I'm just having fun surfing. Like, and that was just encompassed it for me. It's like when they start having fun, then the level gets pushed up to where it should be because they're enjoying themselves and having a great time on top of competing.
I think you just hit on something, Heidi, that when there's that kind of level of competition and the battle happens, you get surfing at a different level. And I think that would be my argument for why I like pro surfing so much. It's because you get to see surfing at a level beyond what you may normally see in a free surf. I could be wrong about that, but I've seen it happen time and time again. And those maneuvers trickle down into, maybe the CS and QS, but more importantly to the beaches and the locals, for other people to try to emulate and surf like I did with Tom Curran, and it never worked. But anyway, twice JGF channeled his inner searching for Tom Curran. Exactly. Leaning back into those waves and rising up. Very memorable. I agree with that, man. I loved watching it. It was a lot of fun. I do have a couple spews, locking down the men's reselects. We talked about that. Yeah, that's a spew. And then cutting away to interviews while surfing is going on. That
oh my God.
Kills me, dude. Literally. And again, you may not have seen this, but we're watching an interview with, and it wasn't even a good one like Sammy Pupo or Kelly. It was just some standard interview. I can't remember who it was that they could have cut to later, but they're literally interviewing him. And by the way,
Stace, Mr. Channel Islands, they decided to interview Britt Merrick in the middle of the heat. I'm like, seriously, can we right now? Okay.
I think that's right. And the thing that was funny was you could see through the glass somebody's surfing and they're interviewing this guy. We're like, can you cut to the action? We're here for the action. And then they go to a commercial after they'd sat, Molly and Alyssa sat for 40 minutes. And then when finally action starts, they go to commercial. And I think that has to do with commercial timing. It's just unlucky, but they can definitely control the surfing and interview type of thing, or at least split screen it, for crying out loud. But
yeah, 100%.
If there's action, there's action.
Yeah, it's funny because when we're like Margaret River, obviously it's a long way out. So I had some binoculars, and where we were sitting in the little media area, they had a TV, so you'd watch the wave live, and then you'd run to the TV to see the replay. And I think it was John's 10, and we're all just erupting, going, "That's crazy!" And then we all run to the TV, and then they go to a commercial. It's like,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I'm sure it's hard to do and manage, but
for sure. I want to read a couple comments real quick. Aaron, know that we've read that one. Oh, here it is. Skate Army says OSD between the legs grab forward is the indie then. So we're learning, T-Bone. I have to get a guide to the air maneuvers and what they do. And skateboarding, I mean, that's where it comes from mostly. And we're doing it in surfing. Let's see with this. Whole new WSL arrangements need revamping with Hawaii start and finish with Triple Crown sewn in. And you said that on our last show, T-Bone, and that is definitely something that the WSL gets criticized that I talked about at the beginning of this. I love this comment right here. Oh, did you want to add anything to that, T-Bone?
Hey, just really quickly, I did a podcast with Matt George, and we were talking about an idea of having the WSL having like a Grand Slam event. You know, in tennis, they have the US Open, French Open, blah, blah, blah. So surfing to have something similar, like a Grand Slam for events where, let's say, there's a lot more points up for grabs and there's a lot more prize money. But obviously make them in locations that are, you know, are pretty consequential. So I love the Triple Crown, but throwing in a Grand Slam events similar to, you know, golf and tennis would be cool.
I think there's a way to do that using that Grand Slam concept. And I think we can, again, I keep pushing Indonesia. I think there's waves there that we could have some kind of Grand Slam format there. I just think they can do better. And then that leads me into this, which is, are you excited for no more reselects? I think it ups the stakes of fantasy and forces you to go with your better judgment. Comment on that one, T-Bone.
Mate, I say once you lock them in, that's done. Because you know what's a pain in the ass? Like trying to, like, especially when the CT go to El Salvador or in another time zone, you're just missing it, you know?
Yeah.
Set the alarm to wake up in the middle of the night. So I reckon just lock it in and hope for the best. And yeah, I'm not a fan of the reselects. I just think let's just run it and see how we go.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I do I look forward to it? Yes. And reselects and the whole thing is a bit of a circus. And I've talked about how I think the numbers should be smaller and the women's and men's should match that same number. And we have a tour which could include Grand Slams and Masters. And I've heard another concept that I'm going to kind of steal here, which is an F1 concept where you have each of the surf brands, if they existed anymore, as separate teams, and they would take their two guys and they would enter them into an event around the world. And you could do that a little more reactive with longer waiting periods. I know that T-Bone, you guys are going to have waves next week. If they were 1 week off, next week is going to be pretty good from what I could see. And so I think with a flexible schedule and an F1 type team system where they could pay more money to make this happen. I don't know. We have so many solutions. Haven't heard a word out of Ryan Crosby yet. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe he's doing things behind the scene. ELO 2.0. I think the other one was ELO, which is the storm system that creates small waves and high pressure systems.
Yeah.
But there's some hate here for the World Surf League. A couple people saying, you know, look, it's easy to criticize them. We do get a professional product, but there's a lot of things that they just they step on their dick is the best way to say that. 12 minutes to go in every heat. Let's go to an ad. Yeah, it's part of their schedule. Let's read this one. Kind of annoying how they were frothing over Robinson as Seth Moniz and Jordy were having a battle. Moniz looked great at that moment too.
That's good heat.
Yeah, there were some great heats, man. This one, Brisa could have beaten Gabriella with more time. Anyone could have beaten someone with more time, but the truth in that one is if they wouldn't have had that battle at the beginning, as we talked about, then it may have been a different match because it came down to, you know, a couple of waves. And I hate when that happens. I want to get the most out of. There's so many comments. I appreciate all the comments. I'm going to read a few more, but I want to move on so we don't get stuck. What I wanted to look at was, hey, Old Surf Dad is pulling up This is a new system. He's going to pull up right off the internet. And I have the tour rankings right here. So let's look at these. And here's the top 5. Let me take that. Can you take that comment down, Heidi? Thank you. Here's the top 5. Actually, here's the women. So Caitlin, Joanne, Molly, Brisa, Gabriella, Bryan.
No
The
way.
the only surprise there for me is Caroline Marks, but and Joanne being at number 2 still is a little bit of a surprise. And then and what do you think, T-Bone?
Oh, Gabrielle Bryant, what a big jump. Yeah, so Betty Lee, yeah. I'm just looking at some of the some of the girls down there. Tyler just scraped in. That was a close heat that Tyler had.
That sure was.
Oh, Tatiana, Sawyer. Oh, Marksy's dropped down a couple. Yeah, it's pretty tight, isn't it? There's going into Chopu now. It's going to be interesting to see, but no, it's good. Nice. I'm stoked for Gabriella.
Yeah,
stoked for Sawyer.
Yeah, these are the ladies that are going to Chopu, and then these are the ladies going to the CS. So look at that, dude. Lakey, that was a bit of a surprise. Sawyer was the one who made that happen, and good for her. Who do you think's coming back next year?
Oh mate, it's a sad sight. It's a bit of an Aussie bloodbath here with the women.
I see a lot of Aussie flags in there.
Yeah. Now for the women, now Sally Fitzgibbons, I mean, she came second in the Challenger last year, but she just can't seem to make the cut in the big leagues. So, surfing's still relevant. I mean, she did probably one of the turns of the event at Margaret River. I don't know if you guys saw it. She got like an 8 point.
I saw that. That dig into that section was sick. And just when I write her off, I've written her off many times, and you guys have criticized me. I've written her off, and then all of a sudden she shows her air game, and then I said she's not going to be back on the CT, and she makes a CS pretty easily. I just thought that the new school, if you will, is just more talented than her, but she works harder and is learning new school tricks, and so much respect for her, man. She came in after, getting sent to the CS and was like, signing autographs and, smiling and, doing her thing with the kids. Pretty incredible. I think that, by the way, that question on me, it's going to be tough for Lakey, dude, with all that talent. India Robinson, her style is specific. I think that Luana Silva didn't impress me until that last heat with Molly, just like David Silva. No, Alyssa Spencer didn't impress me until that last heat with Molly, and David Silva didn't impress me until that last heat where he almost beat John. He was killing it, man. That guy's backhand is wicked. I don't know if you remember that, but
yeah, I did. Hey, I forgot to mention, you got Sophie McCulloch there. On the day of the finals, the actual box had some waves.
I heard this.
So there was probably about 30, 35 people out and about 10 photographers, and every now and then an absolute pit would come through.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's unbelievable, the spit from the box. It's crazy. So Sophie McCulloch actually hurt herself, unfortunately.
Really?
She went to hospital yesterday. I think she's okay, but she was supposed to go to the CS starting at Snapper, so I'm hoping to be able to still surf. But, not good. Not good for young Aussie, so I hope she's going to be okay. But the box,
she charges, man.
Sophie
McCulloch. She has no pullback in her routine. Sorry, I interrupted you, mate. There's a bit of a delay sometimes.
Yeah, too easy. Now, she's only little, mate, and to go out in the box, and it looked like an absolute circus yesterday. But Yeah.
I have a feeling Instagram will be lighting up with not just the Gabriella Bryan dolphin shots, but
Nice.
with the that was amazing, unicorns, rainbows, and dolphins, and just told her she was going to win. But also, I think that session at the box at WSL, I read this somewhere. WSL never pointed their cameras that direction. We were focused on name break. Couple good comments here. Okay, let's see. God, there's so many. Well, here, let's just read. This guy Gustavo is going off. He's not into the world shit league. Woke shit league. No wonder we keep getting shit waves. Even the most epic places bring back end of the year in Hawaii. No mid-season cut. A lot of people feel that way. I don't totally agree with that. I don't like the end of the year at Trestles. I've said that a lot. Gutted for Lakey. I know a lot of people are.
Yeah.
The only Aussie that should be out is Tyler Wrong. Skate Army does not like Tyler. There's not some. And by the way, she brought back the Larry layback, and I think she should just put that away and leave it. She serves so much better without. We've talked about that before. Equal pay for women is also pathetic. Less than half the audience. That's a formula to failure. Are they going to bring DEI woke shit league? I guess so. Okay, anyway, let's talk about that one, Gustavo. The women are now the most exciting part of our sport. I'm going to tell you that for me and a lot of people out there. Molly Picklum, Caitlin Simmers, Betty Lou, and the list goes on. I just showed them. Oh, they're right here in front of me. These women are incredible surfers, wicked talent, and I will tell you in the future that they hold the key to bigger marketing dollars. And I think the audience is growing with them. Look at the guys. I want you to respond to this too, T-Bone, but look at the guys, and the companies have all become huge corporations that bought each other up. And there's just not the money that there used to be in surfing. And I think the women are the key to breaking beyond these old surf brands that aren't funding surfing anymore. Your thoughts, T-Bone?
Yeah, like company sponsorship, Dave. Like, is it drying? You asking, is it drying up and the state of surfing?
I think just that he's
There was
saying
a lot
that
more ads with women in them run than men.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, it's absolute awesome. I mean, like during the Pipe Masters, all we were talking about was the women.
Right.
And I just think that there's such a big shift that the women can do this. And there's so many other great female surfers that are not even on tour yet.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. It's an exciting time. And I say, throw some dollars at the girls, and because they're really stepping up, especially at some of these, these places, some of these waves that can of consequence, like Pipe and Chopu and that. So I really can't wait for Tahiti. That could be another opportunity for the girls to have a dig, and I reckon it's going to spur on some of the other girls as well. You could sort of see that they also want to have a dig when it gets a bit juicy.
Yeah, Heidi, any thoughts on that?
I mean, we learned a lot. Well, not learned, but we saw a lot of great info on that stab. How surfers get paid with the women feature one, and women are an incredibly lucrative opportunity for any brand when it comes to, making money. And I don't see why they shouldn't get paid the same. They're surfing in the same conditions. If they're given the same conditions, and they're out there killing it, and it was entertaining, and they're fun to watch, and they're surfing and the men are surfing. And I just don't see why, responding to Gustavo's comment, why they shouldn't get paid equally. I just don't. I can't even believe that's a discussion.
Yeah, and I think we're just talking about why it shouldn't be, but increase the number of women to the tour, same as men. If the men's numbers have to come down a few, I think they just have to match what the men's are. That this what is up on screen is so gnarly. The murderer's row of surfers. There's only 10 that go in. You know,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And just one last thing on that is Steph Gilmore's surfboard looks like a billboard of the best companies in the world. You got Audi on there, you got Nikon, you got all these really, and Steph has done that. And I think the other thing you were getting at, Heidi, was that increasing the level, and the surfers of the future will be able to surf big waves, small waves, do airs, and do power turns. And I think that's what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a more well-rounded surfer. You're going to end up with a better tour. It's going to be super entertaining. And then it'll all go to wave pools and it'll go to shit. But anyway, let's
just one thing, Dave, I'll add.
Yeah, please.
I guess with the people that are lucky to make the cut, they're going to have an increase in the prize money they can win as well.
Oh, right.
Because first place, they were getting 80 grand. Now first place is getting 100. So if you're lucky enough to make that mid-season, you're going to get extra prize money, which is a bonus.
Yeah, for sure. And I think less people, there should be that, but I think it's definitely an incentive for them to make it, not just being on tour. Let's go to the men's. Let's look at this and go to the men's rankings. And this women will match the men with skill, but not power. We'll see about that. It's interesting. That is a conversation that we'll continue to have, I'm sure. Okay. Griffin Colapinto, Jack Robinson, John Florence, Ethan, Jordy. If the season ended today, there's your final 5 at Trestles. Who's winning that?
Look at all those natural footers. Yeah.
That's it, mate.
If you asking me if it was going to end today?
It ended today.
Wow.
Trestles.
Oh God. That's
yeah. Trestles. I mean, if I look at this, I so want to say Jack's going to have a run at Trestles. He just never seems to do it, man. But he came against an informed Zhao Chianca. But Griffin, it'll be a second crack at it. Ethan's solid. John. Geez, I mean, look at it. And Jordy's won at Trestles. That'll surprise you.
He has, mate. Yeah.
So there's your top 5. Let's keep going down the rankings here. Jake Marshall, he went down a few notches, but he's still number 6 in the world.
He's been incredible.
Yeah, he really has. He has not once appeared on my fantasy team. So that tells you a lot right there. Baron Mamiya, Cole Houshman, Kanoa Igarashi, Liam O'Brien, Imai Kalani DeVault. So Crosby, Seth, look at that. Up 11 to save his ass. I didn't think he's going to make it. I really didn't. I wrote him off completely. So congratulations to Seth. Jack Lynch, Salt and Pepper. How you doing? What's up, Jack? Jack's an old friend who is also a big fan of the show and inspirational, let's just say. So let's go to Elo Ferreira. Elo, by the way, is the highest ranking Brazilian at this moment at 16.
Yeah.
There's no Brazilians in the top 10. Now, if Joao Chianca was here and Felipe was here, different story. So you can't say, well, yeah, you're right. Maybe. But I think that
it's been a very upsetting season. I mean, a lot has changed.
It's upsetting in the sense that I have a fantasy team and I'm trying to win. There's been a lot of upsets too. But yeah, I think the thing is that Joao Chianca and Felipe Toledo at this point are half of the Brazilian storm are out. And I hope Joao Chianca
are out.
Pardon?
Both Pupos are out and they were doing, I thought they
Yeah, I
would.
thought Sammy was going to do better. Let's continue on. Connor O'Leary barely made it, and Yaga Dora
Yeah, no.
again surprised, man.
That's way low for him. I'd expect him to be a lot further up, but he's lucky. He scraped in.
So lucky.
Maybe his dad's too busy with Jack.
Well, I think he's busy with both of them, but Jack tends to do better. God, it's insane. And Yago has the talent.
Yeah.
It that surprises to see him just above the cut line. Going into the cut, anyone here that you think, we haven't talked yet about Jacob Wilcox. I was so gutted for him, man. And I didn't mean to call it like insane. I didn't want to be right about that. I put him on my team. You saw I put him on my team. Jacob, if you're out there, dude, you're going to be back next year. To not see him surf in Fiji and Tahiti is bad for the sport. I mean, it's bad for us as fans. Anyone there you see that you think should have made the cut?
Yeah, well, only Jacob, to be honest.
Wait, let me scroll down a little further. What about this guy?
No, I think Callan Robbo is a solid surfer, but he might grind it out and get back, but I don't. He might. I mean, I wouldn't put money on it. But clearly for me, Jacob Wilcox, I think Cade Matson, I don't think he's got to iron out a few things with his surfing. His hands just.
Cade Matson?
Yeah.
Yeah, his style's weird for me too, and I can't put a finger on it. The hands, I think it's a body mechanics thing too. Like, I don't know what it is. I have to watch it a little bit more, and that'll be watching CS heats, which I don't plan on getting to unless Snapper's firing. Yeah, I cannot wait for Tahiti, but Jacob Wilcox stands out there. I did buy all in on Callum Robson. Callum good, but not fast enough. That's a fair point. I bought in on him and then heavy waves, but now that I see the likes of the Liam O'Briens and the new Aussie crew like that, I think Callum probably won't make it back. I think that the one that I like here is Ian Gentile, and I picked him quite a bit last year, and I'm surprised to see him not make it. Him and Sammy Pupo both are talented surfers, but for Caio and Miguel and Federico and all these guys, they're going to have a tough time with all the talent that's coming up behind them. The George.
Exactly, mate. They will. I mean, you know who really impressed me, and I think he's good enough to get back, is Morgan Silic. I mean, he looked really good at Bells.
I have to agree with that, man.
Yeah, he looked good, man. We forget that he made the final five. I mean, he came from a QS 1000 to the final five at Trestles, just like in a space of 12 months. But I tell you what, I'm not being Aussie biased here, Dave, but there's a lot of good Aussies that are in the Challenger. Joel Vaughan, I mean, he's a really good surfer. He's got a young brother. Look out for Huey Vaughan. I think Reef Hazelwood is good enough. Some of his surfing out at Mainbreak. I think there's a lot of surfers that are better or at least equal to the guys that are getting cut off this year that could easily come in and take their spots. It's so tight, isn't it? It's such a tough.
There's luck involved, which is so harsh for these kids. I mean, you could probably pluck a random CS guy out of the hat and put him on the tour, and he may win an event. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And there'd be a lot of luck involved. The only thing I have about Morgs is that he lacks two things. He lacks, and somebody said here, Morgs won't win in Hawaii. I don't know if that's true. Morgs lacks some big wave experience. He could win, I mean, like Pipe, but Morgs lacks air game, which I think is important. And maybe I'm wrong on that, T-Bone.
Really?
But his turns are exactly the kind of surfing that I love. but to really spark the judge's interest, I think he's got to throw in, or when it happens and he's against an air guy, he might have to do that because his turns aren't quite Ethan Ewing. That was a whole lot.
Jeez, watch Bells again. Looked pretty good.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, really good on lefts too. Remember, he was really, yeah.
He's fast. He's fast. I'll give him that too.
Hey, Cole Houshman, pretty damn lucky, right? Like, he was facing Cutland big time.
Yeah.
Obviously won Bells. Hey, I mean, I'm 6'1" and I stood up against Cole Houshman.
Yeah.
He's a giant, man. Jesus.
Yeah.
That kid's got some thighs, man. He's a big man. He's a big unit.
Best thighs on the CT.
But he's still graceful and has beautiful he doesn't make him clunky or what. I mean, how big is John?
He's about
John's
6
pretty
foot.
Tall, but he's not as he doesn't have the quads like Cole.
That's thick. All right.
Well, I tell you, while we're on quads, dude, Ethan Ewing has the most muscular legs you've ever seen. And
we're gonna talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it. Go ahead. You want to talk about it?
No.
Apparently,
I'll open a window to talk about the women, and I'm
apparently Ethan Ewing has a nice ass, but I'm not here to say that. What I'm here to say is
he's athletic. That's
okay. He's athletic, but the point is, this is a show about Ethan's ass. The point is, his leg strength is what allows him to do those turns, which allows him to snap the tail and have that kind of strength and make it. The other thing he does is on a bottom turn, he can make it just about past any section that I've seen. And I think that's a strength of his surfing. And it starts with the foundation of his core and his strength. And I think a lot of people have gone to that. Unfortunately, it hasn't helped Gabriel Medina strengthening training, but Ethan sure makes it work. What else we got here? Who do you think's going to retire? Let's see. Watch George. Let's read some comments and finish this out. Any thoughts that you have on any of this, T-Bone?
Will George make it onto the CT, into the next CT next season? Well, geez, yeah, I hope so. I reckon he's definitely got the skills to easily make the CT. I mean, he beat the world champ. He beat the current world #1. So 100% he's got the skills.
Yeah, let me pull this one up. I'm going to read this. It was up for a second and I missed it. I feel that much of the issue with these surfers is strategy, choosing poor waves or not getting enough waves in a heat. Technically, these guys are solid. It's mind and strategy. Man, that is an advanced level comment. Thank you so much, BS, because I think that part of the game is not focused on enough. I think that's a huge part of surfing. I mean, there's several components to it, this being a very important one.
There's so much to it. Just watching elite surfing live, you see the small little tactics that the surfers are playing. And it's, sometimes it is a bit of cat and mouse, it's like I was saying earlier, how John was sitting on the shoulder to make his competitor sit with him because he didn't have priority. Like John knows exactly where to sit. It's amazing that he, obviously he surfed Margaret's a lot. Jack, kicking out of waves to get priority at the right time, just having an awareness where the other surfers are. And like we said with the girls, the position, they end up out positioning themselves. And there's so much strategy that goes into it. And Jack Robbo pretty much repeating a similar strategy that he used to beat John in 2022 was pretty interesting too. So there's a fair bit that goes behind the scenes before these guys paddle out, and it's pretty cool to hear about all those insights. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you go to any point break in California, let's take Trestles or Swamis, for example, there's locals that know exactly where to sit, the position, the boil, the rock, or whatever they're using to line up the palm tree. But it's more than just that position. It's when and how they paddle when a set comes and how to outmaneuver. And then these guys in the pros do it 100 times better with that skill at waves they don't even know, but on waves they do know. It's hard to get away from Kelly when he surfed there so many times. I love one of these comments. Let's read that one.
Well, I wanted to because
hey,
I
Heidi,
always
Heidi,
pick Ramsey,
you read this
okay?
comment. You read this comment.
Joe Rogan shorts. I always pet Ramsey. I don't know why I like him so much. I just do. I think maybe because he's the only Moroccan surfer. And then he keeps being so good in his heats, and I'm just like, okay, I'm onto something. But yeah, I believe in Ramsey. Joe Rogan shorts. Relax.
I'm going to tell you, I didn't. I'm guilty of it. I don't know how many times he's appeared on your fantasy team, T-Bone.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Ramsey, 100%.
It doesn't mean that I'm not a big fan. I just didn't have the confidence that I do now. And now that I think along the season, he's also warmed up and is showing who he really is. He's improved significantly, but that backhand snap he has is a crowd pleaser, judges are frothing over it. And I could watch it all day. I mean, think about the guy grew up in one of the best right-hand point countries in the world. And he's gone on that backhand, how many thousands of times. And now the tour is pretty much set up as a right-hand tour. We're about to hit the lefts. We'll see how he goes front side. Is Ramsey the only one remaining on tour with no coach? Interesting question.
I wanted to bring up coaching too when you guys were talking about strategy and positioning, because you and I were talking yesterday regarding, I'd said something like, is it often that they pick a coach specifically for the venue that they're surfing? Because that makes sense to me. Okay, I'm going to Australia. I don't know this wave very well. Let me get a local coach who's going to show me the ins and outs. We'll practice, the week, 2 weeks ahead, and I'll get to know this wave and figure out where to sit. And I assumed that's how it went down. And you kind of explained that to me.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that? T-Bone, do you know any surfers out there that don't have a coach besides Ramsey? If I look through this, everyone I see here, even Kelly, gets some kind of coaching advice, but he
had Glenn Micro Hall.
Yeah, he was with Micro, and then he was with Barton Lynch. We saw him in Portugal last year. He had Barton Lynch that was in his ear about, just giving him a little bit of strategy and things like that. And if Kelly needs a coach, you need a coach. That's my thoughts on that. But who else?
It's just smart to get the inside scoop on wherever you're going to be. It's just doing your research.
It is, because Carissa Moore, correct me if I'm wrong, she won 2 or 3 titles at Margaret River. She used a local legend by the name of Andrew Sheridan coach her, and Andrew Sheridan actually coached Joanne DeFay and actually Otis North. So having a local coach, it's definitely helped Carissa with Shero. That's and I think Ramsey might have got I'm not 100%, but I know he was obviously good friends, and I know Snake looked after him a fair bit. But I guess that some of the coaches, when they've got people in their stable, they're very reluctant to pass on anything, even though they're probably good mates with them. But they're probably a bit reluctant to pass on any sort of comments, because it's sort of a bit of a conflict, I guess, with their athletes that they look after.
Yeah, that would be a difficult situation. And just so everyone else is clear out there, my understanding of how the coaching works monetarily is they get a percentage of their winnings. And I don't know what that percentage is. I would guess 20%, 25%. I don't know. If somebody knows,
chime in.
I think Cal Bell Warren does a lot of coaching at Bell's. That's his spot, and he's an expert. And people would just, hey, we're going to have my coach and Cal to tell us exactly where to sit. I think those are some good strategies.
Yeah,
God, there's go ahead.
Sorry, what I do know is the surfers with their coaches, I mean, they pay for their airfares, their accommodation, hire cars, the whole shooting match. So, and plus, obviously, if they get a good result, then they get a percentage. So, someone like when Jake Patterson comes to mind, he's got Ethan, Kanoa, Sawyer. He did have Cade. So having 4 surfers, if they all do reasonably well,
Nice paycheck.
It's and there shouldn't be any overheads because the surfers are paying for all the other, the travel arrangements and stuff. So.
Yeah, we'll see if he continues on the tour with them. I'm not sure what his plan is. I think he likes Western Australia and golf too much, is from what I've heard. Kelly had Mitch Thorson at Margs for a couple of years. Yeah, crazy. That's a good call, actually. Remember Mitch Thorson, dude? You know who he is. A lot of you may have never heard of him. He was on the world tour and pretty darn good surfer.
Sells real estate in Margaret River now if you're looking to buy some property.
Hey, is he?
Yeah.
That's it. That's where you make the money, not coaching surfing. That's for sure. There's so many great questions here. I may run through a couple of them, but we're in the wrap up stage. And if you're watching this on YouTube as a rebroadcast, make comments down below, and I will answer them personally, each and every one of them, as I usually do, unless it's a head-to-head battle. Gabriel Medina, Cole Hausman, and there's 40,000 comments. I can't get to that, but I'm keen to do that. Hey, Joe Rogan shorts. Somebody asked if Ramsey moved to France. Ramsey moved to France at the age of 13 after his dad died. He moved there because in France he can do sports study program or a thing in Morocco. Interesting. You seem to know a lot about Ramsey. And no, and I think that's cool. That's the power of the community, of the OSD community. I love getting the answers from you because I certainly don't have them all. You can see that by my ranking in my fantasy league I actually have the number right here, T-Bone, 223 in the last event. Wow.
Nice.
That's to be fair, that's out of 600 and something. I don't know what it is.
I can't believe I don't even want to tell you my ranking.
But hey, you guys, Barreled Surf Podcast, check it out where you listen to your podcasts on Spotify or Apple or wherever. I mean, you're on all of them, right, T-Bone?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, across all the podcasting platforms. And
these interviews are incredible. I had a great time listening to them. I can't wait to listen to the finals day interviews. I don't know what you have in store for us there.
We actually, Namu's going to put out just a raw, uncut version because we spoke to a lot of people.
Yeah, so good.
During the Margaret River Pro, we just released what we call bulletins, like short little episodes. But we're just going to put out a full car park, unedited, just a raw version, so you can get the feel of what it was like, I guess, at the Margaret River Pro this year.
The car park interview is a classic. Check it out at Barrel Podcast. Oh, thank you for that, Heidi. I needed to do that the whole time. There's a bunch of questions here. I want to rifle through a few of them before we end. T-Bone, are you good? You have 3 more minutes?
Yeah, good,
yeah.
Man.
Let's check these out. So here, I got a question. When Elo beat Cade, why was he so mad smashing his board into the rocks? Did he think he lost? He was either excited. I heard that he was either excited or angry. We don't know which, and that is so Elo. So I don't have an answer for that. You know what? I may ask Elo if I see him when I go to El Salvador. Yes, I'm going to El Salvador. T-Bone, stay up until 4 a.m. and watch the finals with me. I'm going to do some live. I don't have 3 Barrel Podcast members to help me out, but I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to shoot some video of the surfers before the event and that kind of thing. Any ideas? Oh, I love this. Yeah, Heidi, just feed us these questions after. I love this one. Any ideas how we get Saquarema replaced with a better wave? Yes, here's the idea. Make something in Brazil more interesting than surfing, because as long as there's a huge crowd of fans, we're going to have that wave there. God, I don't know if that's true. Can we just not go there anymore? The last time I was on this podcast, this show, I said, there's better waves in South America. Let's have a wave in South America. Let's go to Chile instead. That would satisfy everyone. Let's go to Peru. There's plenty of waves in Peru. And there's waves that
they do it for the audience. I think there's such a following in Brazil in that culture with surfing. And I think it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe there's a better wave in Brazil.
I think that's the most consistent wave, and it has the opportunity to get that little, that right hand backdoor barrel beach break thing. I forget what it's called now. But anyway, I think you're right in that they want to connect it to the fans and have it a place where everybody can go. But the truth of the matter is we don't live in that world anymore. It's the internet, and you've got to go see, you've got to watch it online. And I'm not mad about it. I was talking about the replays, and T-Bone was there. After he would see it live, he would run over to the TV screen to see the replay. I mean, that's what we're used to now. We're used to Instagram clips, and the best we can do is the internet. The tour must have a Brazil event. I think at this point, yes. I think eventually it could become, the next level tour where it's just internet only and they chase really great waves. That's my dream anyway. I think Susie Hernandez answered, that's only because women don't have enough time in the water. I think he had said something about, oh, sorry, Heidi, you go ahead, put it up there. Yesterday, Sally and Sawyer showed why they've struggled this year. Waves were pumping and they racked up less than 6 waves total. They got caught inside badly and struggled to get in position. I have a thought on that, but T-Bone, any thought on that one, the getting stuck inside in that heat? Because I know why they got stuck inside.
Yeah, they just paddled themselves too far to the left, yeah?
I think that, and the fact that
they out-hassled each other.
Margaret River has this rogue wave. I don't know if any of you surf blacks does it too, but particularly Margaret River and Sunset Beach have every half hour, every 1 hour, every 4 hours, like a huge set will come out of nowhere. And I think they got that on the head.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just happens. And they were, I mean, they got, I think it was the Sawyer Tyler heat. I can't remember which heat it was, but they got absolutely flogged in a heat. Yeah, and Sawyer chucked her board and had to get under. And yeah,
that's powerful waves out there. They're super powerful. And it was so consistent yesterday.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, I tell you what, it's been such a long, dry summer, what I was saying. And that was sort of it's not even the start. I mean, yesterday could have been maybe the end of our summer, the first glimpse of what really should be some of our autumn swells. So, yeah, the lines can just stack up nonstop.
Yes, and that wave is particularly demanding, I think, and what you see on your TV screen is far more difficult when you paddle through that keyhole, and then all of a sudden you're out amongst it, and it's a wild open ocean type of wave. That's, I'll say, is scary. At least it was for me. And I think T-Bone, you and I talked about that before in another broadcast. As an Aussie, I get embarrassed when Bells isn't firing and they have to grovel. Surely Brazilian surfers feel the same. That's a good point. That's a good point. It's too bad. You know what? This is going to wrap up the show. Bells, should it be on the CT schedule or not? You're an Aussie. What do you think?
100%. Yeah, it's the most iconic event in the world. I mean, it's running for 61 years. Yeah, 100% it should be on the world tour. That's a no-brainer.
Is it challenging today's CT surfer?
Is it challenging?
Is it challenging today's CT surfer with the maneuvers, with the airs, with the kind of surfing that we're seeing today? Is Bells challenging enough for them?
Well, I guess you can't have all waves that are air waves. I mean, Bells, the fundamental carve, top to bottom carving surfing, it's Bell's bowl when it's on. I don't know about you, but I love watching a long reeling point break. And when it's on, it's amazing to watch. You see the surfers really laying some amazing turns.
Yes.
Kelly pulled that 360. It's not known to be an air wave. It's more turns related, and it's such an iconic spot. When it's on, it's amazing to watch. Like seeing the lines stack up. And if you go back in history, man, there's been some epic.
Totally agree. I just wonder if you replace that wave with Lance's right, would people get upset? Like I'm just being I agree with you. I'm just being devil's advocate on the other side, because I've started to hear this argument, and I think it's historically important to surfing. Should there be a different type? Should it be a CS or a Masters wave? I still love that you have to be able to surf Bells, figure it out, and make a big roundhouse classic power carve to surf that wave properly. And I think that part of it challenges the surfers.
100%.
But sorry.
It's definitely one of those locations where it's the surfer versus the wave. I mean, the wave's obviously not the most perfect wave. You can't compare it to some of the epic point breaks around the world. But there's I guess there's a lot of elements they have to deal with, and it can be quite difficult. So it's probably more of a challenge to learn how to ride Bells. It's not as perfect, obviously, that like you mentioned, HTs, but but I just think it's such an iconic spot, iconic event, and when it's on, like I said before, I just love watching Bells when it's firing and watching the surfers really tested, and it's cold, and it's epic. To me, it always will stay on the championship tour.
And there it is. You've heard it. And we have covered a lot. T-Bone, I had said to myself, all right, we're going to keep this show to an hour. And we're at an hour and 42 minutes. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. I appreciate you so much. And congratulations on all the success with Barrel Podcast. Thanks. Stoked for you guys. Those of you out there in the comments, I know that T-Bone and I mean, he's my mate and I want to talk to him. And sometimes I don't get to look at all the comments. And my apologies for that, but I think we got to quite a few and we covered a lot of great topics. Thank you so much, brother. We got to do it again soon. And I'm going to be talking to you about the Olympics. I'll be in touch.
Yeah,
mate.
Interesting.
We'll talk about the Olympics. I've got some cool stuff coming up for.
Someone wants a link to T-Bone's to the Barrel Podcast. I don't know how we can get that to them, but
link
just look
to
it up on your podcast. Yeah.
Well, what we'll do, we'll link it in this video, and Heidi, I think I can link it down below. I'll do that after I get off. I'll link his Barrel Podcast in the show notes.
Ooh.
Great.
T-Bone, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dave.
See you later.
You.
Right.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, everybody.